Hello, this is James with Minor Illusion, and today I will be reviewing for you the Mouse Guard role-playing game by David Peterson and Luke Crane. This is rapidly becoming one of my favourite systems, and definitely one of my favourite systems to run. The game is about a world in which there are no people, and you have anthropomorphic mice who take on the roles of rangers, going out into the wild and dealing with predators, dealing with all the issues that would be for people just a normal, easy thing, but for mice it's just that much harder. If they have to get rid of a bear, then they have to get an army of mice together to do it. And if they have to deal with a giant turtle, then they have to deal with that, themselves. It is a very interesting system. It is a D6 system where 1 through 3 on the die is a failure and a 4 through 6 is a success. You need to roll versus a target number determined by the DM or GM in this case. It is a very easy system to play, but it does take a bit of learning. I played one session with my group, and that was my first time ever running the game after reading the book all the way through, and it was a bit tricky. This is a game that I would say the GM really needs to read the entire book through and then go back and pick apart the bits that are a little bit difficult. The conflict system in this game is unique in my experience. If you want to have a conflict, is defined in Mouse Guard as not just a fight, but a conflict can also be an argument or an attempt to persuade somebody, or you can actually be having a conflict against the weather. And the weather is a major feature of the Mouse Guard world, as one would expect. If you are tiny little mice and there is a sudden thunderstorm and flooding, then you are in a very dangerous situation. The conflict system has the options when you enter into a conflict to attack, to maneuver, to feint, or to defend, and each of those translates to something different. In a fight, they're fairly straightforward, but in an argument, for example, a defense would be trying to come up with a reason for your point of view, and a feint would be a sort of sneak attack on their point of view. So it takes a little bit of explaining. I found that with my first group, there was a bit of, when we were in a fight conflict, they wanted to, I'll attack. Well, yes, but the different maneuvers all have, the different options during a conflict all have different results. Very like the weapons that your mice can carry. They all have different options. Some of them give you different successes. Some of them give you different bonuses. This is a very straightforward system once you've made a character, and the character is made in a step-by-step process. You decide who your mouse is, you decide where they're from, and you decide what rank they are, and then once you've decided these things, you add onto your character sheet certain things that that mouse will obviously have, and then you make certain choices that are your own personal choices. And then you end up with by the end, you end up with a mouse who is with a character that is so well-rounded that you know who they are right off the bat. It's not someone that you need to discover. You find out that this mouse is from Spruce Tuck. So he is from this village that has a bunch of science mice in it. And so if that is the kind of character you want to play, then that is the kind of character you can make. Once you've created that character becomes quite easy to roleplay very quickly. The story of the world is that there is this group within the world called the Guard, and they are an independent force, a bit like the police, a bit like rangers. They operate out of this fortress called Lockhaven, and they patrol outside of the mouse villages and towns, and they have jurisdiction outside of the villages but not within the towns themselves. The mouse territories are divided on two sides by a scent border, the mice have created a way of mimicking the smells of large predators, so they keep the predators out by maintaining this scent border, and that is the main duty of the guard, to keep that maintained. One of the main things that tries to stop you in that effort is the weasels, which are basically the only other intelligent race, at least of a technological level equivalent to medieval times, which is about when this is set, if that's the right word. The whole system is based off of the comic series of Mouse Guard by David Peterson, and if you haven't had a chance to read those books, you definitely should. They are beautifully drawn. The artwork for this series is fantastic. The mice just, well, they're just cute. They're interesting stories. You care about what happens, and when you read the series, it definitely informs you about the world in which you'd be role-playing in the game. And I found that after I read the series and then I played a bit of the games, that it just makes me want to play even more. Mouse Guard is released in two formats. There's the hardcover version. It's in a second edition now. The second edition had a few tweaks made to the game rules, a few things simplified, and generally, I never played first edition, but it seems to have been an improvement. There is also a boxed set which you can buy, which includes a softcover version of the book, a GM screen, a bunch of character sheets, and GM tracking sheets, which is very useful, by the way. It's a sheet for the GM, has a bunch of information on the back so that you don't get lost, but on the front you can add all the information from the players. You can find out their name, where they're from, what kind of cloak color they're wearing, also their friends, enemies, and family, so that later on you can introduce those characters into the story and have they go to the village where their family is, or they accidentally run in with one of their enemies. It makes things so much easier on the GM. The box set also comes with a group of 20 particular type of die. They have a snake for 1 through 3 for the failures, and then they have swords for 4, 5, and then for 6 they have the black axe, which is a legendary weapon in this world. This is definitely a very interesting system. It is well, to give you an example, in order to learn a skill that you don't have, you make the attempt, and whether you fail or you succeed, you earn points towards eventually learning that skill. And if you want to advance a skill that you already have, you will attempt to, let's say, fighter, for example. In a fight, I'm in a fight with a weasel, I attempt to hit him, and I fail. Well, I chalk that up to a failure on my sheet. You have to meet a certain number of passes and a certain number of failures, which really harkens back to real life, in which if you want to get good at anything, you fail and you succeed. And eventually you become better at it. This is a very interesting game. I'm loving running it. I think I'm going to be trying to run a few games online, hopefully in the near future. And if you've never heard of it, if you've ever been interested in checking it out, I would highly recommend getting it. It's going for about $25 on Amazon right now. It's well worth picking up. And this is James with Minor Illusion, and I'll be getting some more reviews to you in the near future.